Hey, this is BSB, the Big Spoiled Bee, and this is my second podcast. My special guest is John Radz, good friend. I think you'll enjoy our conversation. We talked about a lot of things from time machines to music to conspiracies, so there's a lot of good topics. Listen up. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Welcome to podcast number 2 of BSB in the Hive. I'm here with my friend John Radz, and we're going to talk about a number of topics, but first we're going to start off with a little bit of bourbon. I have Weller Foolproof 114, good stuff. Put a little more in my glass. What are you drinking, John?
Eagle Rare. I'm not quite the expert / aficionado as my esteemed colleague here, so whenever he visits, he has to make do with what we have around the house.
We're also pairing it with a nice cigar. I've got a Pappy cigar, so I'm going to light that up and get going here.
I have an Ashton.
Ashton, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you? You don't have to be super specific because I know the parole officer said not to talk about it, but no, just kidding. Tell us what you do for a living, and
yeah. Well, number one, thank you for having me on. I'm glad I got picked for episode number 2, which is incredible. I would say that we've been friends now for probably close to 20 years, maybe 18-ish or so. And there are some people in your life that you remember the first time you ever met them. And I think there's only probably a handful of people that I could ever say that. And it was at Vines on Clark in Wrigleyville, enjoying a beautiful summer afternoon. And in fact, I have a memento of that day because there was a really cool picture on the wall of just one baseball in the middle of the outfield of Wrigley Field, and the photographer had just this awesome angled shot up, and it just sort of was like the perfect afternoon, right? This like still capture of a great day on the baseball field and a great afternoon at Wrigley. And I told my wife that I liked that picture. She found the photographer. She actually got me a copy of that print, which was a really cool thing. So that was the first time we ever met. So again, it's really great when you can kind of trace things back to that, kind of moment, right? The moment there. But yeah, I mean, I work in the asset management industry. I have a sales job, which gives me decent flexibility in life for us to pursue shenanigans. So
cheers.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Weller Foolproof. Oh. A solid pour every time. So I've just started doing podcasts, and this is my second one, as you said, and I figured out that there's a lot of people doing stuff out there. I'm trying to find my niche, and I can't find it, so I'm doing this instead. But I'm interviewing people I want to interview and who I think are interesting, and hopefully that transfers to the people that are watching, and I'd like to, spend some time talking with you. We've got a lot in common. We like a lot of the same things, great taste in music. I think we have some great discussions about, what if we could go back in time and do this or do that? Not the one where you go and kill Hitler. That's not what we're talking about. But could you be at a concert? Could you be at Woodstock or something? Or could you be, at the last concert that Led Zeppelin had before the drummer died? Or, could you go back and see Bon Scott with AC/DC? Those are all very, hard rock kind of references, but things like that. We always have those discussions. Would we go back in time and hopefully not screw up the timeline? But
what if you picked the wrong one? So like my parents have a friend of theirs who they've known for, my entire lifetime, right? 50 plus years. And she, her name's Molly, and we were at my parents' wedding anniversary. It was their 50th wedding anniversary. And, we're sitting there telling stories and that type of thing. And I made a comment like that, that, I was kind of feel like in some ways I was born maybe 10 years too late. I was born in 1975, but, I would have liked to have maybe experienced some of that in real time. And this lady, Molly, she says, well, I saw Led Zeppelin, in Chicago back in the late 70s. And I was like, that's incredible. What was that? That must have been terrific. And she said, well, it actually wasn't, because it was when Jimmy Page was dealing with some of the issues that he was dealing with kind of later in the Led Zeppelin years. And he didn't even show up on stage. He came out, I think, for 2 songs, and then he had to go back. They started 2 hours late. And so my luck, I'd get the time machine and I
I get the
I
wrong
go to that.
Yeah,
I'd be there. Not when he caught the dove. Robert Plant caught the dove in his hand, and that sort of iconic '77 tour. I would have programmed the DeLorean to take me to one of those dud type shows.
We got to get a DeLorean, and we need that.
Uh-huh.
I know.
Yeah, I guess the first draft of Back to the Future, it was a refrigerator was going to be the time machine, which is way less fun than a DeLorean.
I don't think that would be fun.
Yeah. No, but I think it was more the idea that they didn't want kids to climb in the refrigerators and trap themselves. And get the door shut. I think modern refrigerators have solved that problem largely, but that was largely. Did you ever do that? Crawl in a refrigerator?
No,
those
old
refrigerators.
The one that was stored in your neighbor's house. You weren't supposed to go in their yard,
That's
and
right.
do not enter. It's it's got the rope around it, so you can't get in, but you take the rope off anyway. Yeah, no, I didn't do that.
No.
So yeah, I know it's the whole time. I got to tell you, the whole timeline thing. It's like there was The Simpsons where Homer goes back in time and he steps on like a spider or a squirrel or something, kills some animal, and it changes the whole timeline of man from that point on. And he comes back and like everybody's like a lizard, has a lizard tongue or something. It's like, right. One time it was raining donuts. I mean, we go back and just screw up the whole timeline. Like, what if you did go back and get rid of somebody that was evil, but it made it worse because some other new evil guy came in that this guy would have killed or something. It's like
you created the void, right? You created that opportunity for well, it's the known, right, versus the unknown in that sense.
I think I would have gone back about 20 years ago and got some bottles of Pappy and just like buried them and put them somewhere, and then waited till now, and then
before it became a thing.
Yeah, before it became very expensive.
So apparently, I didn't know this, but the Lollapalooza, concert in Chicago every summer. Apparently, it's a thing where people go and bury bottles of vodka in Grant Park weeks in advance of the concert, and then they try to remember where they buried their bottles. And so I was scrolling through social media right around the time when Lollapalooza was happening. And somebody had written out there like something like, good luck to all the squirrels. I hope you find your acorns, in Grant Park. And
code,
so my oldest daughter, that was her thing. She's 23 now, but when she was in high school and even in college, she'd come back from school for the summer, and her and her friends would go do that. And I asked my other kids, I'm like, do you guys know that this is a thing? And they said, yeah, it's a real thing. And of course, they never did it, right? Of course. But the only thing worse than not planting yourself a bottle of vodka in advance is forgetting where you put your bottle of vodka.
Yeah, I know. I guess you got to mark it or something. Put it. Air tag.
Ooh, you could put an air tag.
I'm done.
Yeah,
that's the way you go. You can air tag it. So
we sort of did that. Do you remember what we did at that Motley Crue at Allstate Arena 10 plus years ago when we almost did something? It was a very strong equivalent of that.
I forget. Remind me.
Well, we got to the show very early. I think Alice Cooper was opening, and you are a aficionado of Alice Cooper, and it was my first time ever seeing an Alice Cooper perform, and it was worth it. I'm glad that we were there for sure. To usually the opening band, right? It's take it or leave it, but if it's Alice Cooper, it's worth showing up for.
Still touring.
And we were there, and there's an area at Allstate up in the upper level where our seats were, where they have kind of like almost beer carts. It's not fixed concessions, but there were sort of beer carts, drink carts, whatever you want to call it. And we walk in, and there's nobody in the room because we were, again, very early. And the young ladies working behind this one beer cart, we said, wow, lucky us, nobody's here. We're able to, just walk right up. And we said, I wish it would be this easy later on during the show.
Oh.
And the young lady said, well, she goes, if you guys want to prepay for a certain amount of drinks now, you can just walk up and I'll just give them to you during the show. And so we did. I think we bought maybe, 1 or 2 rounds or so.
Nothing excessive, of course, right? Never.
There might have been a very generous tip for that brilliant idea. So put that one in your pipe and smoke it. Everybody out there in podcast world. If you have the opportunity, you need a trustworthy beer cart vendor though, and luckily we encountered the right one. So that's sort of like the time machine idea that we sort of did something, that future Bill and Ted would benefit from.
All right. So if you're going to do the time machine, you get to pick I'm gonna let you pick two because I know one of them is going to be Jerry Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
So, but pick two and then name the event or the time period that you would go
Yeah.
back and see.
I think I would probably, you kind of want that experience of the beginning, right? I think one thing that really interests me is the origin story. I mentioned how we met, right? The first time that we ever met each other. And, whenever I'm dealing with somebody in a professional capacity or talking to somebody about their experiences, I love that original, like that spark. Like what
Yeah,
was the first thing, right?
yeah,
What was the chain reaction that sort of set this off, right? And, someone that's very successful or very creative or just an interesting person, what was that moment, that inflection point? Because I think like that's where you really learn a lot, when you get into that. So, I would love to be able to say like, go back to Haight-Ashbury in 1965 and, be in one of these little clubs and sort of see that organic just genesis of what became, in my opinion, the greatest touring band and really one of the most iconic forces throughout Americana,
yeah, yeah.
and to go and see that. But on another hand, to be at Alpine Valley in the summer of 1989, I think it was July 17, 18, 19. I mean, those are three of their best shows, and I was 14, right? So I didn't have anyone, my mom wouldn't let me go.
Come on, Mom.
And so, I think that would be probably, um, so I guess I'm not giving you an answer. I probably would pick, going back to San Francisco and
So
just sort of,
early
yeah,
Dead,
just being,
San Francisco.
yeah, being in that, and just would want to almost be invisible in that room because I wouldn't really, I don't think I wouldn't want to, that would be where I wouldn't want to step on that butterfly, or I wouldn't want to create
Yeah,
that ripple
yeah,
effect because it was so great as it was, is that I would almost like Alpine Valley, no problem. I could blend in there and,
yeah,
there
yeah.
wouldn't be, I don't think that the disruption that I could cause would be significant at all. But like if there's 80 people in a little bar somewhere in Palo Alto back in the early days of the Dead, I wouldn't want to have screwed it up.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
in that sense,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm the guy that tripped on the microphone and, the show was canceled.
And then they got mad and quit.
Right.
They're not touring anymore
Right.
because of people like you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I come back to the present day and the world is in, chaos.
I hate John. Everybody's got a T-shirt that says
Right.
I hate John
Exactly.
because he
Yeah.
ruined the Dead.
Uh-huh. Everywhere I go, people point like Nelson and
So I got one for you.
yeah, yeah.
How about um, how about before she died, seeing Janis Joplin in her prime,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat sober,
Yeah,
coherent Janis
yeah,
Joplin in her prime? That would
yeah.
have been, that's something I would have been great to see. Or the last time maybe Bon Scott toured with AC/DC.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one because that was just this like raw, absolute, like creative, powerful energy that, he needed bagpipes, right? For the most iconic
I know.
bagpipe riff in rock and roll history. And he couldn't figure it out or he couldn't find the person. So he learned, right?
Yeah, they made the song as simple as possible for him.
so
So
he just,
yeah,
but it was just that kind of like that raw drive, right? Of just his creativity. I think that would be a good one. Yeah. So
then I
Janis Joplin was affiliated romantically and so on with Ron McKernan, affectionately known as Pigpen, who's
Pigpen.
the
Yeah,
Grateful Dead's original kind of lyricist and
yeah,
keyboard player, and he was a very blues guy, very very bluesy. And apparently, he and Janis, when their paths crossed at the Haight-Ashbury house where the Grateful Dead lived, which became that symbol sort of that counterculture '60s kind of situation. Janis and Pigpen would just sit there in the kitchen, harmonica, maybe some type of, tambourine, some type of maybe somebody had a guitar,
yeah.
something like that. And they would just sit there and, unfortunately for both of them, they drank heavily together and ultimately, paid its price in tragic ways for both of them. Unfortunately, they're both members of the Club of 27, which is
Yeah.
another tangent we could go
We
down.
could spend
But
hours on that. So there's this
yeah.
club. For those who don't know, there's this
Mhm.
club. It's a club you don't want to be in, but there's a lot of famous people, like 10 famous people that died at the age of 27, musicians and actors,
Mhm.
and so they've kind of coined this thing, the Club of 27. So he was
Mhm.
part of that. So,
Yeah, Janis
oh,
too.
she was. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Pigpen was.
Big Pen died
Yeah.
at 27.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix, yeah,
I mean, Amy Winehouse was probably the most recent. Kurt Cobain,
Kurt Cobain, yeah.
It was it's a list. You know where that started, right? Robert Johnson.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The inventor of the blues and rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was the original. You know, the thought of that is that so Robert Johnson was kind of an unknown. Wasn't really regarded as kind of the top talent of his time frame. He was kind of a journeyman, played with some other musicians, and kind of a session type of guy before that was really as predominant of a thing as it was.
Yeah.
But he wrote that song Crossroads.
Yeah.
And that song Crossroads, I mean, Eric Clapton, right? Fish has even covered, versions of Crossroads. And so, you went down to the crossroads, and the thought is, if you go to any crossroads, doesn't matter where it is, it could be right in your neighborhood, right down the street, any crossroads, you go there at midnight and you tell the devil what you want. And if the devil accepts your terms, so to speak, you sell your soul. And so Robert Johnson, at some point, wrote the Crossroads song and just then became this incredible sensation, right? I mean, he wrote Sweet Home Chicago,
nice.
Walking Blues, Traveling Riverside Blues, which Led Zeppelin.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorites.
Something about a lemon,
citrus.
Citrus. But all these like songs, and he kind of then burst onto the scene. And the thought is that he went down to the crossroads, made that sort of pact, if you will, with the devil, so to speak. And he was the original member of the Club of 27, which his career was very short. Yeah. Obviously 27, but even at the time of his career where he was big and made it big, kind of coincided with that. So you could sort of trace that lineage back to that. And, it's not really a club anybody aspires to be part of.
I don't want to be part of that club.
So the thought is that perhaps these individuals, either literally or metaphorically kind of made that deal, right? Where they said, that stardom, I don't want to speak, ill of the dead, but it makes for good, good theater. It's a good story.
We'll never know. I guess maybe someday we'll find out. I don't know.
Well, we're way past that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously not going to be a member of the Club of 27. I've missed that by almost 3 times now. So,
well, there's always hope.
I know. There's always hope. I'll be the Club of 71 or something.
Yes. So, new club.
Yeah. But that's amazing. I mean, there's so many, I don't know what it is. I mean, even like actors and especially musicians.
Yeah.
Just dying in their prime.
Yeah.
Way before they should. They need to get old and wrinkled and have a
Brian Jones, from the Rolling Stones, right? Like he's also a member of the Club of 27, which is tough. But it's the band carried on obviously fairly well.
They did okay without him, I think. Why don't you think?
They did.
I don't know. Rolling Stones. Some of you have probably heard of them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian Jones, like he had started having drug problems, and they started relegating him to smaller roles in the band, and pretty soon he wasn't, really even doing much.
Yeah, he drowned in a pool.
Yeah, that's sad. That's not the way I'm gonna go.
Yeah, no.
So
he was incredible though, because you know the name Howlin' Wolf, right? As far as like the icons, if you will, of the founders of modern day blues. Howlin' Wolf was a tremendous story, and when they came to America, the Rolling Stones, and it wasn't Ed Sullivan Show, but it was another one of those kind of variety type shows, and they were asked to perform on that television program, and Brian Jones was the one that said, "We'll perform, but we want Howlin' Wolf to open for us." And Howlin' Wolf, as a older black man in the mid 1960s, didn't really fit with this demographic of like the Beatles kind of pop band type of situation, and
British invasion, stuff.
Right? They wanted that young, good looking, British kid, right? That would appeal to American teenagers and that, and Howlin' Wolf definitely was not that. At least what they thought that they wanted. But Brian Jones said, you don't get us without him. And if you can find that video on YouTube, just look up, Howlin' Wolf opening for the Stones on TV, something like that. If you can find that video, it is incredible. And Howlin' Wolf was one of those guys, couldn't read, grew up poor, Mississippi, I think.
Yeah.
And he actually taught himself, because when he was starting to get involved in the music business, he realized that not everybody in the music industry was out for the performer's best interest, right? Go figure. Yeah.
That's an understatement, right?
Right, yeah. Go figure. And so Howlin' Wolf taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, so that he could read the contracts and that he could do, he could do his best to manage his band as opposed to just being the talent. And one of the things that he did was there was no Social Security, or there was maybe right at the beginning of it, there was Social Security, but there was no like 401k or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he paid into unemployment insurance, or he paid into whatever benefits he had to pay into, so that when his band wasn't touring, he could essentially like lay them off and they could collect unemployment.
Nice.
And so he really looked out for his workers, if you will,
Yeah.
his musicians. And that was a pretty remarkable guy, really.
Yeah.
If you really think about like just sort of owning your situation and building something from there.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So another timeline thing would be Stevie Ray Vaughan being at his last concert at Alpine Valley in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They coined that the night the music died too.
Yeah.
Of course, the first time was with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, and who am I forgetting?
Richie Valens.
Richie Valens. Yeah. That was way back, like early '60s, right? So, but I would love to have seen, because it was Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan performing at Alpine Valley. That would have been a very good concert to see. So
I met a guy professionally, a client, if you will, that worked at a beer vendor or a concessions vendor at Alpine Valley during that era, and he was there at Stevie Ray's last show, and he said it was the best summer job of all time, because you could you could obviously hear the music for free, and you're getting paid along the way, and you're operating the concession stand, so if a chicken nugget accidentally found its way.
Yeah.
He said it was the absolute best summer job of all time. But that was I guess it's kind of the other question of that time machine is almost like if you could have one of those people back, right? If you could have one back.
Only one back?
Well, just, I mean...
All right, let's say only one.
Yeah, I mean, like...
Who would you have back? Who would be your one person you could have back?
I'm not sure about that, because I think, you think of like, Jimi Hendrix, right, is the de facto best of all time, right? He never had the chance to make that terrible record in the 80s, you know what I mean, where he went disco, or,
disco,
you know what I mean, or whatever so, it's almost like, you're die young and beautiful, you're remembered young and beautiful, right? But certainly that would be kind of the one that because Jimmy is always like number one on that list of greatest guitar player, kind of greatest, because he never had the opportunity to ruin it, right? And so you'd like to think like what Jimi Hendrix would have done, but I saw an interview with Kurt Cobain when he basically was the first one to do that MTV series Unplugged, and
that was a phenomenal concert.
Yeah, that's another one to look up if anyone watching us hasn't ever seen Kurt Cobain like that. And there was an interview with him about that, and he said, eventually in my career, he said he kind of wanted to become that almost Neil Young kind of guy, where it's just him, a stool, a guitar, some stories, some songs, some thoughts, that he wanted to share, and hearing him kind of say that that's what he wanted to do, because that kind of raw energy and power of like Nirvana's music is not sustainable, throughout a whole career, because that, what they did for those couple of years was as big as anybody. But he, so I guess, I don't know, what do you think? Who would be your
So I'm thinking about
choice?
this in real time. So we didn't plan any of this out. No talking points.
I
no
think
notes.
I think they can tell.
I know. So I would say, I don't want to pick somebody like Bon Scott, because we keep going to AC/DC, because Brian Johnson came along, and I didn't want to take any of that away.
Right.
Even though like Bon Scott's one of my favorites. Then I think about Queen and Freddie Mercury. They could have kept going.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't come out with any new music, they could sing their old music. Because even though Adam Lambert's a talent, I mean, the guy can sing. It's not Freddie Mercury, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you bring back Freddie Mercury. That would be one. And then there's another guy, and this is lesser known. I think maybe you'll know, but Dwayne Staley with Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought he was a great talent, and he died. And the backup singer, the new singer, it's not the same. It's not that he's a bad singer; it's just not the same. So those are two that I don't know.
But would you want to
wish maybe Eddie Van Halen too? I wish he was still alive and touring.
Yeah, that's a tough one because there were a lot of years that the Van Halen, they obviously with Alex, they had their own demons and so on, with drinking and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of years that they just missed, regardless of being alive or not. I think that Eddie could have possibly kind of had a chapter two, even
Yeah.
before he died, because it was only 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't it, that he
I don't know how long it's
that
been,
he
but
died?
it
Yeah,
hasn't been that long. But
no, but I feel like he was, really wasn't there, like around for a long time, kind of
yeah,
before that. Even maybe he was, dealing with health issues and things like that nobody really knew. But I guess it's like who Freddie Mercury probably would have also had maybe a lot of cultural impacts as well. I mean, I think a lot of young people could have used him as an example of just be yourself, right? And
he
the
was.
things that,
I'll tell you that he was himself.
well, right, but I mean, I think that could have been a powerful voice for people that
I think so.
that needed to have that voice out
Yeah,
there. And
yeah,
it's okay to just be what you are and who you are. And
yeah.
I think that biopic, or whatever they call it, that they made about Queen was the best of that.
It was
If
pretty
you
good. That
if
was a
you yeah,
pretty good movie.
yeah.
Oh, speaking of crazy movies,
Mm.
and this is, and I can't even remember the name of the movie, but there is a couple that lived in Milwaukee. It was called and their name was like Lightning and Thunder, and they were a Neil Diamond cover
Yeah,
band.
yeah,
They made a movie about this.
yeah,
It got
yeah.
nominated for an Academy Award. It's
Song Sung Blue.
yeah.
Wolverine is the
Wolverine
guy.
is the
Hugh
guy.
Jackman.
Yeah, Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman and
Yeah.
Goldie Hawn's daughter.
Yeah,
Oh, she was
pretty girl, yeah,
really
for
good,
sure.
and she had a thick
Yeah,
Wisconsin accent. But
that's right. Yeah.
and I was at a friend's house, and his wife and kind of wanted to watch it, and so I'm like, all right, and my buddy's like, yeah, we can watch this, and
Mm-hmm.
so it started out a little slow, but you kind of got into it, and it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like deep into it too much. It was a story behind it, and it was like, this guy is, he doesn't have any money, and they're
Mm-hmm.
barely getting by, and his wife gets hit by a car while she's out in the yard gardening,
Mm-hmm.
and she loses a leg.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not ruining the movie for other people, but
Well.
it was a good movie. But it's like the story about
Mm-hmm.
music and being semi-popular
Mm-hmm.
locally, and I just had a good
Well,
message.
it's just how
to
hard
it
it is, right?
Oh yeah,
Just why do some make it and some don't? It's just you have to. Are some is that they are they're great at that.
yeah.
That they're great at something. Some of it is you catch the moment in time, and you catch
It's timing, yeah.
the right
Catch
kind
the
of
wave.
situation.
You're
Yeah.
the guy that
Yeah.
a girl that gets up on the wave, and you
Mm-hmm.
cruise it, and you take it to
Mm-hmm.
the end, and you're lucky. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of talented people out there that make
Mm-hmm.
it, and there's some people that aren't talented that make it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've got charisma or something. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's part of talent, but it makes them popular, and they get somebody else writing
Mm-hmm.
their hits for them. Look at the Monkees. I mean, those guys.
Yeah.
Some of them could sing a little bit. They kind of could play some music, but they weren't writing the hits. So all the other people were writing the hits, and
But they captured a feeling.
they captured the feeling. It was
Yeah.
the right moment in time, and
Mhm.
that's not going to happen today. I don't think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like I had an Uber driver, and you meet all kinds. I take a lot of Ubers traveling for work and
Yeah.
that, and I've I've had some characters. I got picked up at O'Hare, and this guy, I could tell he was cool. He had just a good energy about him.
Yeah.
Looked like a good dude, and we get in the car, and I kind of had one of those days where a lot of times I'll just put in earbuds, and just want to be in my own little world,
Yeah.
decompressing after a week of travel before I get home, and
it avoids the awkwardness of just sitting there.
right, yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
Don't talk to me, please. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, not everybody wants, but he was, I don't know, I would say late 20s, kind of a guy, and he had the Scorpions on in the car, and I said he started turning down his music when I got in the car, as is polite,
Yeah.
courtesy, and because he was rocking pretty good,
Yeah.
And I said, no, man, you can let this roll.
Rock out, yeah,
I'm
let's
like,
go.
we can, yeah, I mean, right? I mean, airplane.
We're outdoors if you can't tell.
Yeah. cigars aren't allowed inside. I love my wife, and she's usually pretty accommodating to our shenanigans, but
We got to be
cigars in the
100
house
feet away
are.
from the house.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, cigars in the house. But then I said, no. I go, this is great, and he said, yeah, and I'm like, I'm kind of curious. He said Scorpions are among his favorite bands, and I was like, all right. I'm like, I mean, they're perfectly great choices. One of your favorite bands. I mean, Scorpions are
Yeah.
awesome, but I said I'm a little intrigued by that because just your age and things
How old
like
was he?
that, like probably late 20s.
Oh, late 20s.
Oh yeah, late 20s, and
Wow. Was he German?
no,
No.
no. He told. Then he holds up a microphone. He had this like wireless microphone in the front passenger seat.
He's singing along while he's driving.
Well,
not with Pete.
Well, yeah. He's a vocalist. He's a singer, and he grew up in the Chicago area, moved out to L.A. To make it right, to try to make it, and he was going to do the whole troubadour and what were some of those other kind of like where he was going to be Motley Crue or Metallica or one of these Southern California bands that
welcoming Frank.
Yeah, and he said that he tried for a while, and then him and his wife had to move back because they want to have a family, and kind of like life caught up with him. Like you're not getting called up to to the Yankees. Sorry, kid. You gotta go put some food on the table. And so he started talking to me, but it was a really cool experience to be able to talk to him, and we were kind of sharing stories about music and things that he really loved. And back to that kind of origin or that Big Bang moment or that thing, he said introduced me to some heavy metal music that was pretty cool. I can't remember the name of the band right now, but it was pretty good, very thrashy, very high energy, like really unconstrained stuff. And I told him, I go, could you imagine being like a whatever age, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, even a 50-year-old, but when Led Zeppelin 1 first came out, what's the first song on Led Zeppelin 1? Give you a hint.
What?
Pom pom. Right? In the days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man. And I'm like, could you imagine? You never knew, you never heard Led Zeppelin, you didn't know what this was going to be.
Sorry.
And that was the first song on side one of the first record that they ever put out. And then when they, break it down and you get the little bass thing, and then they get to the next riff, and then it is just that Jimmy Page blistering, guitar riff. And it's like, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Page, like, it's just such I think that's probably the most powerful, like, introduction, Yeah. I mean, first song, side one, good times, bad times. I mean, like, talk about coming out and saying, hello, world, we are here.
I've had my share, right? Yeah, that's definitely an iconic album. Their first four albums were just unbelievable. They wrote them all within like 4 years or 3 years.
Yeah, it was very fast.
Yeah.
There's a great that show, Becoming Led Zeppelin. It's on one of the streaming services. That would be another one to to make sure is on the rotation. That if anyone hasn't seen that, like that's incredible, because I think the band agreed to do it if it only covered the first kind of the beginning of them, but they inherited a touring commitment that the Yardbirds had committed to, and
they were going to be the new Yardbirds.
That'll go over like a Led Zeppelin,
yeah.
Right. And so they had to do this tour of like some the Scandinavian countries. I don't remember exactly what the tour was, but they had like 8 or 10 shows or whatever it was, and they were paid something like $1 million, which back in that time was an absurd amount of money.
Gazillions now.
Right. And maybe it wasn't $1 million, but it was enough money. And they rented a house somewhere and they recorded Led Zeppelin 1. And so when Jimmy Page owned the record, they produced it, they got it fully ready to go. It was fully for the shelves immediately. It didn't need any other, enhancement. And Jimmy Page was able to take it to the record companies and say, you need me more than I need you. And he was able to set the terms, and he controlled his own music, and that kind of goes back to the Howlin' Wolf, right? And being, kind of his own advocate, because it is, people, I feel so bad for the rock star, right? But I think a lot of those artists, especially in that era, and then especially, the black artists, were mistreated.
And so many of them got ripped off.
Yeah.
I mean,
it carries on.
Bo Diddley got ripped off, and all these other guys.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even Elvis, man, Colonel Tom,
Mm-hmm.
kind of ripped him off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if he would have gone on that tour, right? The Elvis documentary or mock or whatever reality, like the biopic of Elvis that was a good one too, because Tom Hanks played the Colonel and he did a really good job with that, right? What
Yeah,
didn't he?
yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
And at the end of the movie, he kind of breaks the fourth wall and he talks directly to the audience and he says, "People give me a lot of crap for making Elvis not what Elvis could have been." He goes, "He's still Elvis, right? It's Babe Ruth. It's the like."
Bigger than life.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's just a shame again that he had the struggles he had,
he only had Miralax.
yeah, right, yeah,
Could have helped him out tremendously.
for sure, want to move things along,
Move things
yeah,
along. He wouldn't have died on the throne. So
yeah,
I don't know. I enjoy talking about music.
uh-huh.
I have no musical talent and no
Mm,
rhythm, but I love music. And I think you and I have a lot
yeah,
of bands and music
yeah,
that we like
yeah,
together. And I think you've actually gotten me to be more of a fan of the Grateful Dead. It was hard for me at first, even though I went to some of the shows. I'm like, it's okay, But now I appreciate it. It took
mm,
time, I guess. You get stuck in like the kind of the pop music phase, and if it
yeah,
doesn't like click right away, you don't. Some of
mm-hmm.
this music you got to listen to it a little bit. You've got to
Yeah,
maybe just step back a little bit and let it play
yeah,
and take it in a little bit. So um, I think that's part of it, and I think over the years I've broadened my scope, and having a granddaughter, I get to hear some of
mm-hmm.
the new stuff, and so I can sing along to all these songs like Taylor Swift and Dua Lipa and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
some of these other Sia and all. I
Yeah,
know I know all
yeah.
those songs. I can sing to them. So
Having daughters, like my oldest daughter's 23, my second daughter is just about to turn 21, and kind of that era of music for them, kind of in the late 2000s, right? The Taylor Swift for sure. You get some of those poppy things like we I think it's the moment, right? It like catches you at a certain point, right?
yeah,
And the music can be the soundtrack to that. And I think the Grateful Dead, I would say to somebody that's never, it's easy to make fun of them, right? Because a lot of it, I kind of think like the Grateful Dead's like Saturday Night Live, right? 50 to 60% of it is good, right? It's
yeah,
okay. It's on. You're watching it.
yeah, yeah,
It's good. It's not the best thing you ever saw, but it's you're happy with it if you kind of like that type of thing. Maybe 10 to 20% of it is pretty rough, and a lot of it is because they were recording. They're out in some field somewhere, and they're
yeah,
recording these shows with someone's got a tape recorder,
yeah. Cassette
and
player.
right,
Yeah.
and the speakers that they're using, there's no soundboard, or
Yeah.
what I mean. It's
It's very raw.
it's very raw, and so
Yeah.
like you hear some of this, and vocals will come in and be way off, from the rest of it, but it really has more to do with kind of the circumstances. If you heard it live in the moment, it was probably a lot better than some of the recordings were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might get some vocals that are not aligned with the pitch or whatnot, but it's but I think that's also the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that it was real. It was just there's a famous video of Jerry Garcia, and he's on like the Today Show or something, and the host is like, what do you say to the people that work all year to save up enough money to go on tour with you guys, and they basically spend all their money on going on tour with you? And Jerry says, well, that's pretty much what we do. It's like
Yeah.
we're not, they really didn't
Come
make any
join
money.
us. Come join
Yeah,
us.
they didn't make money till really the late 80s when they started playing,
Bigger venues
bigger
and
venues
yeah.
and things.
Yeah.
And, then they're playing,
Ticket prices climbed. Yeah.
yeah, giant stadium, and they're doing these things. And then the In the Dark album with Touch of Grey, which is their,
Pop hit.
yeah, most famous song. But what was great about them is they started playing Touch of Grey in 1982. I think was the original, the first time it started coming out in the live repertoire. and they had their biggest hit of all time. They had their music video. They had their,
I remember
their
that
moment, right?
MTV,
Yeah.
their MTV video.
It was a cool
yeah.
video, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was.
they would turn from skeletons back
Yeah.
into themselves
Yeah.
and like back and forth. But they literally played that song for free, not for free. You had to buy tickets to the concert or get a tape or something like that. But they sort of gave that song away for 5 years before they put it on a
Kind of
record,
monetized
and then
it
became their biggest thing. But did it become the huge hit because people are, they had wind at their back with it, right? But I think that's the idea. And so I tell people, put on a Grateful Dead live, concert
Yeah.
on like a Saturday morning when maybe you're coming out working in your yard,
There you
in
go.
your garage, kind of coming back and forth, and you're going to come in the house and you're going to hear, maybe some of it and whatnot. But then back to the Saturday Night Live thing, the 10 to 20% that's not good, but then there's 20% plus that is just awesome.
Yeah.
Like you'll catch like this moment in a song or in a concert, and they're going to start getting it. And all of the members of the band would say that they just were chasing that, that they had these moments and they could tell when they were kind of getting close, and they would kind of go, they'd be like, yeah, we're getting it. And then it's like waking up trying to remember your dream, right? It would sort of disappear. And then they'd be like, all right, let's get back to it. Let's get back, and so they'd get to these kind of moments, and, no ever show was ever the same, no ever.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
They just did their thing, it's like nothing was the same. And
Mm-hmm.
they had, many different playlists, and like probably never one the same, right?
No, I mean, I don't think they're ever.
Surprised if there was, yeah.
4,300, I think, or 2,300 concerts or something like that over 30 years, and no set list was ever the same. I mean, there would be, they would tour when new music would come out and stuff, and so you'd hear, several of the same songs night after night, but it would never be the same set list. There was no standard show.
All right, so listen,
Mhm.
we're going to ask one more music question, and we're going to talk about some other stuff.
All right.
I like music. I talk about it all night. So give me your top 3 concerts of all time.
Like my most fun, like my favorite memories, or
I want to say, let's say it's the best band performance, not you having the most fun at a concert,
Okay.
because you could probably say every concert was good, right? No, for the most, I don't know. I always have fun at concerts. The only one I didn't like, I'll do it. The one concert I went to, it was a band I like, but they were not good in concert, was Coldplay.
Oh,
Coldplay is meant to be chill, and it's like, good music, but easy listening.
What they do wrong?
Well, they tried to hurry through their songs. Like they sped it up a little bit, and they were running around the venue and trying to play over here, and they came back in the crowd. Like, that's all cool, but it took away from their song. Some of the songs are meant to be played slow, and that's the way it goes. And this is not you're not going to get up and go, yeah, Coldplay, you would sit there, you listen to it, and they took that away from me, I think. And I did not enjoy it. And I felt like they did not rock me. And so that was probably that and seeing U2 live. It was the political stuff ruined it for me. But other than that, those are probably my 2 downers in terms of I saw Puddle of Mud. The guy made it through 5 songs and was so wasted he had to walk off.
Yeah,
that was disappointing.
Yeah,
but those are probably the only times I've had a bad time at a concert. So what about? We're talking about bad things. What about? Give me your top 3.
My top 3 would my top concert I've ever. My greatest concert experience, and I can't really vouch for the band itself, but it was 1994, and it was the first time I ever saw Fish. And it was also the first time I ever did acid. Can I say that on the podcast?
You cannot.
All right. And so I think the convergence of those 2 things was the greatest the greatest kind of concert experience I ever had. We were at University of Illinois, the indoor arena, Assembly Hall, or no, not Assembly Hall, that's Indiana, but they called it whatever they called it at the time, like the basketball arena, and we were in the obstructed seats behind the stage, so we had the whole thing. Like, we had our arms up, we had our feet on the seats in front of us.
There's not a lot of people there.
No, nobody. There was nobody back there. I mean, everyone that bought those tickets somehow got down on the floor or got, into the regular thing. But for us, the right speed of this, I was with my buddy Greg. There were other people in our crew, but me and my buddy Greg were, anytime you have a trip like that, you need a trip buddy. You need a counterpart. It's like an Inception. When you spin the top, you need something to tell you what's dream and what's not. And me and my buddy Greg were each other's trip captain, and we had the greatest time because we were kind of behind the stage, and so like the whole show was kind of like we were almost like the two old guys in the Muppet Show, in the little balcony, and we were sort of there but not there. We were kind of observing it. We were kind of behind it. We were in exactly the vantage point we needed to be in for that. I mean, I would say that was, and I mean, Fish 1.0, 1994. I mean, they were that was, they started as a band in the early mid 80s, kind of thing. But by the 94, I mean, they were getting big. They were starting to play, University of Illinois basketball arena, but they were starting to get, to more of that kind of what they've become. I would say that would be number one for me. I have a couple others, but
go ahead. You get two more.
I get two more. Then I would say 2021 when I finally saw the Rolling Stones for the first time.
That's one of mine.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I would say that would be it. And then I might throw one out there where I was with a buddy of mine named Rob, and we went to Buddy Guy's Legends in Chicago, and Eric Gales, who is an incredible young blues. I don't know how young he is anymore, but I mean, he like, younger guy, not one of the old blues guys, like a younger guy, came out, and he was, Buddy Guy, the way he would do it is he would always have this younger artist do their thing, and then Buddy would come out and do his set, and then that younger artist would come back and join him for a couple songs at the end. And seeing this, and you're in Legends, it's a small place, and it's just crowded, and you have to get there. There's no seating. You can get a ticket, of course, to get in, but you have two options. You can either get there super early and get a table.
Yeah.
And so we got there super early and got a table, so we could have some real estate. And then seeing like Buddy walk out at his own place, and just that link back, right? Kind of that, again, that inception moment, that beginning. Buddy was amongst those first guys in Chicago that said, the blues is cool, but what if we plugged in those guitars? At some point, somebody did that, and it happened, in Chicago, right? And so, so I mean, I would say Fish, Stones, and Buddy. Seeing Buddy for just, kind of, and I mean, this is probably 10 years ago ish, or 8 years ago, something like that. And Buddy was 80 even at that point. But the way he was just, sort of talking dirty to the women in the audience.
Oh my God, he's got a mouth on him, I'll tell you that.
And, he was literally like to the point where he was trying, like, he was getting to the point where, like, you could tell some of these dudes that were with these women were like, hey, man, you say one more thing, I don't care who you are.
I'm going to come on stage.
And Buddy's like, bring it. This is my house. I mean, I'll take you down. But it was just a cool, little experience. So those would be my three, I think, that I really loved.
So I would say my number one is the first time I saw AC/DC, and it was later in their career. I don't know if you were at that concert with me or not. I think it was at the United Center, and I was ninth row, and the sound wave from the speaker, it was like somebody was blowing air at you, like like they'd hit the boop, and then the wave would come out and hit you. And it was so amazing to watch them. And Angus was still moving around and doing his crazy stuff. Brian Johnson could still sing, and I know I couldn't hear for 2 days. I had to work from home for 2 days, and I had to have the sound on the speakerphone way down because it was hurting my ears. But it was such a great show.
I noticed when we just saw them a couple of weeks ago, you had the earplugs in.
Oh yeah.
They said never stop rocking. And
never stop rocking. Well,
you just
got to
protect
better
whatever
little
yourself.
hearing I have left, right?
Huh? What?
Yeah. What? Who? What? Another concert that it was the music was good, but the crowd was so into the concert, like they were paying attention. It was Offspring in Chicago at what's the lakefront place called?
Northerly Island.
Northerly Island.
Yeah. Great venue. Great venue.
Great venue.
Yeah.
They were on. The crowd was on, and they had a mosh pit going, and it was 104 degrees out. I mean, it was so hot out, and people started throwing beers, and it's like you're getting splashed with like cold beers, but it felt good because it was so hot out, and the mosh pit's going, and they're singing, and it was just such a great experience. Yeah. And that would be the Rolling Stones. This one, AC/DC are my three.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to have been to a lot of good concerts, and some of them are great, some of them are good. I will tell you that seeing Neil Young live was really good. Tom Petty live was really good.
Yeah,
Tom Petty.
I regret that one.
I saw Tom Petty and Pearl Jam opened for them. Now, at the time, Pearl Jam was probably a bigger band. Right?
Yeah.
There were a lot of young people there for Pearl Jam. There were some older people there, or slightly older people there for Tom Petty. But it's one of those things where I think the younger people are like, wow, Tom, I really am digging Tom Petty. Because when you see him in concerts, it's like, it's actually better than what's on the recording, right? It was his sound was so good, and the crowd was singing along, and it was a great experience. So, I'll tell you one other one.
Yeah.
I was dating someone at the time, and they wanted to go see Bon Jovi, and I'm like, I've already seen Bon Jovi. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Come on, let's go. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And all of a sudden, they announced that Kid Rock was going to open for Bon Jovi at Soldier Field. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm going to go. I'm going to suffer through this. So it's like, Kid Rock came out and just gave, I've only seen him once or twice, and gave just an awesome performance.
Yeah.
And the people that were there for Bon Jovi are like, yeah, this is good, and I appreciate that. When other people can appreciate someone else's music, it's was really good. So that was a great concert too. And the best part of the concert was the Blackhawks had just won the Stanley Cup, and they brought the Stanley Cup out on stage. So he's walking with the cup around on the stage.
Bon Jovi was?
No, Kid Rock. Who cares about Bon Jovi? Yeah.
Well, that's why Kid Rock's never won a Stanley Cup, because you can't touch the Stanley Cup.
So that was a great experience. So those are my experiences. Other people probably can say, well, I saw, Taylor Swift or someone else, and she does a great concert. I mean, for what she does, that's probably a great show. I wanted to take my daughter and granddaughter to that, but it was a little on the pricey side. Maybe next time around, when she's less popular. She'll still be as good, but it'll be a little more affordable.
So that would be a Time Machine one. There's a video of it, which is widely available. I think you can actually get it through like the Apple Music. Are we allowed to give product pitches on our?
Yeah. Sponsored by no one.
But it's when the Rolling Stones went to the Checkerboard Lounge with Muddy Waters.
God, yeah. He had that red jumpsuit on or something.
I know Mick Jagger looked like a tool.
I know, he looked like he was from the Ringling Brothers or something. He had like a clown outfit on. Sort of.
The only time that you've ever seen Mick Jagger look uncomfortable was when he was up on not even uncomfortable is not the right word, but just sort
out of place.
Like just like
out of place. Everybody else was cool. Like the whole
Keith and Ronnie. And
they were jamming with all those blues guys in the background. These people are legendary blues people.
Yeah. Junior Wells was there. I think Buddy might have even been at that, but definitely Junior Wells was there, and Keith and Ronnie were doing their thing, and you just sort of get that. But I think that goes back to the idea that the Brian Jones, Howlin' Wolf has to be on this thing with us, or we're not coming on your TV show. And I think that they paid the dues to what they.
Well, they got their roots from that.
Yeah, I mean, they were not even close to trying to pretend that they, and that's the greatest. Back to that whole origin story, right? That Keith and Mick saw each other on a train platform, right? Keith had a guitar, Mick had some records. He had to mail a money and a return envelope to Chess Records in Chicago. That's that song. Was it 2160 Michigan Avenue or whatever? That like I butchered it. That's not the right, but it's that. That was the address of Chess Records, right? And these two brothers that left Europe because they were Jewish kids, and they left because of the worries in that time, the 30s and 40s, and they moved to America and started their their record business, and they were one of the labels that a lot of those artists could get play on, Muddy Waters and things like that. And so Mick would send the money to America, and I mean, think of it, probably like weeks went, months could have, like, how long would it have taken? And he'd get these records in the mail, and listen to
like
them.
Columbia House, right?
Yeah.
I still owe him a couple of records or CDs or cassette
I owe
tapes
him,
or
I owe him
something.
a lot of money.
I don't-
Yeah. Santos L. Helper, had a few of those, but yeah.
So I want to talk about podcasts. So I don't know. I have some friends that listen to some podcasts. I mean, everybody listens to podcasts, I guess. I think it's more of a thing now than it used to be, and I think it's growing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get platforms this way, and I am obviously everybody is too, but I'm a big fan of like Joe Rogan. I like Joe Rogan and what he does, and how if he doesn't have a good person to interview, he carries the interview. He's able to either talk about what this person is involved with or talk about other things in the world.
Well, that's what you're doing for me right now.
No, man, you've been carrying no interview. I don't know shit here. But I'm
spilling ash on myself.
He inevitably he'll start talking about UFC. Somehow he works that in almost every episode, which is not bad. But it's amazing how he'll start talking about something that's totally outside of their area of expertise.
Yeah.
But the guest will know something about it, and they have this great discussion about.
That's right.
Like all this stuff, and whether it's conspiracies, and like or the moon landing's fake, or what's your theory on that, by the way?
The moon landings?
The moon landings.
I think they went to the moon, but I think a lot of the images and things that we see were manufactured afterwards. And the reason that I think that is, Occam's razor, right? The most logical,
Yeah.
I have two cats, right? If there's a glass of water spilled on my kitchen island, a cat did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no like,
Wasn't me.
yeah, well, right. I mean, it's
Yeah.
It's kind of that
razor.
Occam's razor. Yeah. And it's sort of like, the idea that if you're going to fake it, like how many times did we, go to the moon? Like 7? Like if you're going to fake it, like
just do it once.
You fake, like,
one time we're done.
Yeah. I mean, right. And it's sort of that. So, or you make the lie way too big to be, unbelievable, right? You make it so preposterous that you can't challenge it, right? So maybe that's why they went that many times. But I think though that the thing about it is the whole matching up the mountains with something in Nevada. Like, I mean, that could be manipulated. I don't believe that as much. The thing about it is that they had the cameras affixed to their chest, right? And the amount of images that they have, somebody broke it down that they would have had to have been taking pictures every like second.
Yeah.
And with the gloves and with the thing, in the
shoes, the boots.
I mean,
the footprints.
Right. So I think that they, for propaganda purposes or whatever, I think that they did maybe embellish. There's a good term. The photos, but I think but then part of me is like, how is the president talking to them on the moon? Type.
Well, that's
of thing.
the most ridiculous thing, because there's like a 12-second delay or something.
Right. If
he's on like a regular phone, like he's got, hello, moon, give me the moon, please. This is Richard Nixon.
But it's
is this Mars? I'm sorry. I must have misdialed.
Wrong. How do you gotta dial 9?
The phone number?
I gotta dial 9.
What's the phone number for the moon?
91 or is it is it direct? Front. Can I get the concierge?
So I agree. I think we went to the moon. I think we landed there. I think there's obviously stuff on the moon.
Right.
I think we didn't do as much as we said we did, or we're just the smartest people on Earth at that point in time when we become dumber. That's the only thing. That's the only explanation, because they have none of the technology, none of the. They just made it up as they were going, and that's possible too. It's like when I made that. The first what was the Pinewood Derby car I made for my son? This thing, I never made one before. No, seriously, I made this thing. It was ugly as hell. Everybody else had these polished things. One looked like the pink eraser, and one had like it was like a candy bar and all this stuff. and I got this thing. It's painted green. The wheels are wobbly. I beat everybody. My son beat everybody
Right.
by like 2 car lengths, which is unheard of because they're normally like neck and
Oh
neck.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I have no idea what I did.
yeah.
Right? I couldn't create it. Never could
Uh-huh.
create it again.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't cheat or anything. It was a legal car, but
Sure. Yeah.
maybe that's what they did.
Mhm.
They just got lucky and they did their thing, and I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe it worked out. So I'm into conspiracies. I like to talk about them and think about them. And it's like, well, you can't be a conspiracy theorist. You that's bad. I think it's good to be a conspiracy theorist because you can prove or disprove or challenge. The thing about
Yeah.
science, when they say trust the science means science keeps testing and testing and
Mhm.
testing.
Mhm.
And, we've learned a lot of things over the time. The earth does
Yeah.
not, the sun does not revolve around the sun does not revolve around the earth. I mean, that's what we thought, 600 years ago. Yeah. Can you believe that? So we've come a long way, and we learn new things
Mhm.
every.
Mhm.
The Big Bang Theory is being challenged now. There's all
Mhm.
this the people that allegedly migrated over through Alaska down into America.
Mhm.
They're finding evidence of civilization here before that. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
science evolves, and so maybe we had a way to get to the moon and we forgot about it or couldn't create it again, and maybe the lack of technology made us really, really smart and tested everything to the
Yeah.
nth degree. There's that movie about the mathematicians in NASA
Mhm.
that the computer was wrong, and they brought this woman was African American, and they were treating her badly back then in the
Mhm.
'60s, and
Mhm.
somehow she was able to compute and get the John Glenn to go into space and get out into orbit and stuff, and
Mhm.
without her it wouldn't have happened. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe we've lost it. We become too dependent on technology, so we've
Hmm.
lost some smarts, some intelligence, and
Yeah.
So I like the theory that we went there. We did land and we did do stuff, but I also believe, for a publicity standpoint, to maybe we wanted to prove to the Russians that we were way ahead of them and
Mhm.
make them spend money where they didn't have money to spend. I don't know.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite. I like listening to the people that talk about how
Yeah.
things are a conspiracy, and so that's always fun for
Well,
me.
you think that, like, if it was just purely and outright a fraud, that there would be, I'm going to recant on my deathbed, or I'm going to, that they
I
would,
wish somebody
like,
would.
well, right, it's sort of like,
Buzz Aldrin
you
when he
know
dies.
well, there's a lot of that Stanley Kubrick was involved in, that they say there's a lot of, um, there's another cool documentary, or, if I guess it's a documentary, but it's called Room 237, which is the Shining,
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about where, when the little boy Danny meets the ghost in the room, and Wendy thinks that the husband, gave him those bruises on the neck, that Jack hurt Danny, and he didn't remember doing it, or he didn't know he did it, or
Yeah,
he did it, and whatever. But he's wearing a NASA rocket
that was him.
sweater, right? That was
Mia
kind of his,
Culpa is
right, his confession.
yeah.
That the little boy, kind of the innocent little boy, was hurt, and that, and that was his kind of atonement, or confession, or whatever, about it. But I don't know. I think, well, I think your comment about nature and science is just, the world is just a constant series of experiment, failure, try again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And just that kind. And I think that's a lot about life. I mean, we've had lots of cigars and lots of bourbon, and we're still getting better at it. We you know
Constantly improving.
yeah,
Yes,
or
yes,
at least failing and getting better, trying,
yeah.
trying.
There's a theory out there, and Joe Rogan had a podcast on this. They talked about it briefly, but that it's like the Matrix, right? Like the one
Hmm.
that's in the movie, he was like the fifth or sixth generation of Neo
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
coming
yeah,
back
yeah.
to free themselves from the
Hmm.
robots or the
Hmm.
machines, and
Yeah,
they think that there was probably civilizations that had some technology
yeah,
that
sure.
some
Hmm.
catastrophic event happened, wiped everything out. There'd be no record of it.
Right.
Like if there was a civilization,
Yeah.
advanced civilization a million years ago,
Hmm.
it would have been wiped out. It would have
Hmm.
been covered with dirt. All the buildings and anything they would have created would have been buried. It would have broken down. The metal would have all
Hmm.
dissolved into dust or whatever. So
Yeah.
you could have all the civilization from a long
Mm-hmm.
time ago. What if an alien race came here and landed on the planet and started, whatever. What you can believe,
Yeah.
Adam and Eve or whatever. What I don't know what you believe, but it could have happened, right? It could have
Well,
happened.
humans, if you really think about it, like we are sort of ill-suited for the Earth. You know, we
How
can
so?
well, we can only live in a very, very kind of mild range. Like I mean, you live in a warmer climate, right? I
Yeah,
mean, here we are in the Chicago area now.
yeah.
It gets maybe 20 below to 100 degrees. And if we didn't have houses and we didn't have central air and central heating, and we didn't have the refrigeration and some of the
Hmm.
like we can't survive in the wild, if you will,
I
right?
can't
We
survive
need
without air conditioning.
well, right,
Yeah,
exactly. But I mean, we can't survive without bourbon and ice cubes and
I
things like
know.
that.
What did
But
they
it's
do before bourbon?
but right. I mean, so you think like maybe we are the remnants of an alien, if you will, type of race, because we have our brains. I mean, not necessarily you and I, but humans collectively have our brains, which has allowed us to adapt and create homes
I think
and
that's
comforts.
in
And
our
but
history, the ability to adapt
mhm.
to the surroundings and to the hardships
But even
has.
relative to other animals, like we're an inch taller when we wake up, and then all day long gravity like messes with our spine. Like like humans have terrible eyesight
Yeah.
relative to other animals.
Oh my God.
I
Yeah.
mean, you wearing glasses, I have contacts in. I take my contacts out, I could function, but I couldn't hunt, or you know what I mean, or I
Well,
couldn't.
all right. Look at. So remember the time we were in northern Wisconsin and we're on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 20 degrees below zero, and there's this guy fishing, and
Yeah, yeah.
he cut a hole in the ice, and
Mm-hmm.
they fish on the ice, and he pulls out a fish, and out of about a mile and a half away, we see this eagle take
Mm-hmm.
off, and he could see that guy pull out a fish out of the hole, and he
Yeah.
comes by and he swoops down. He didn't get it, but I mean he could see that a mile away.
Well, that guy was a bit of a jerk because
He didn't
like
feed the
it
eagle
was
or
it
what?
was not a fish that would matter to like his like sustaining his life. And
Yeah,
that eagle hasn't seen a fish. It was February.
yeah.
The eagle hasn't seen a fish
And the
since
ice is like 6 feet thick, and
right. Yeah, the eagle's not going to see a fish for another 3 months. Hasn't seen a fish for 3 months prior. Like if it was us, we probably would have thrown the fish up in the
yeah, a
air
piece of
and
walleye or
what?
something.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't even think it was a walleye. I think it was not. It was
whatever it was.
yeah. I mean, it was not a. I mean, if it was a walleye, I mean that's but
But
I
think
mean,
about
but
the
yeah.
eyesight that eagle has
Oh yeah,
compared to what we
right.
have. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I can barely see across the yard right now.
Hmm.
You know, my vision's shot. It's
But that's
probably
why, like humans, like we are not. We have our brains, right? But we have fight or flight. We have collective cooperation, amongst our species. But humans are also, like think of all the animals, right? Okay, a rabbit, right? If you had to
yeah,
fight a rabbit, you'd beat it. If you had to fight a squirrel, you'd beat
nine
it.
times out of ten.
You know,
Yeah.
a raccoon, you'd beat it, right? But a dog, I
How
mean,
about
right?
dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't beat a dolphin. No
No,
way. I mean,
dolphins would take
that
over.
thing would kill us, in a
Snarky.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's yeah. So I mean, maybe maybe oxygen is poisonous to humans. It just takes 80 years to kill us.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe we're not equipped for this Earth in the sense that we can't really. If it was just you alone in the woods, right?
Oh, I'd last about a week, maybe 3 days.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I need a Starbucks or something. Yeah. No.
I give up. It's been
Yeah.
40. Well, that like I mean, 9 meals from anarchy, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the sociological kind of limit of human. You miss 9 meals, 3 days of starvation, you start shooting your neighbors, right? I mean, it's just it's an incredibly like downward slope that humans have. Like our life here is pretty fragile if
Yeah.
you really kind of think about it.
Our ability to survive and persevere.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're
Mm-hmm.
driven to survive, and
Well,
we adapt based on that. So
do you think we have enough for part one here?
I think we're going to call it.
Yeah.
So listen, John, thank you, man.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
And
Yeah, thank you.
thanks
Thank
for
you
watching.
for having me.
And we're going to sit here and finish our cigar and our bourbon, and we're going to say goodbye. And thank you for joining BSB in the Hive and my friend John here. And we're going to call it a night. Thank you. Take care. Good night.